Troy Donahue tells the terrible things about Suzanne Pleshette. Merle Johnson Jr. was born on January 27, 1936, in New York City. He was meant to have a life full with art. Frederick Merle Johnson, his father, was the head of production for General Motors advertising movies. Edith Dee Dee Johnson, his mother, was a retired Swedish stage actress. Donahue's parents wanted him to choose a more solid career, but he was clearly passionate about acting. He went to Broadway shows with his mom a lot, which got him interested in theater at a young age. When he was 6, he got pneumonia and his family moved to Long Island so he could get better. This move gave him a calm place to live that helped his artistic side grow even more. In 1956, Donahue made the important choice to come to California. At first he worked at Brady's company cutting film. Producer William Asher and director James Sheldon saw him in a Malibu cafe and gave him a big break. This led to a screen test with Columbia Pictures, but just before the test he got into a car accident that almost killed him. This put his plans to move to Hollywood on hold. He didn't give up though and was introduced to agent Henry Wilson, who had worked with Rock Hudson before. Wilson signed him and gave him the name Troy Donahue, which he thought was appealing. Donahue's first roles were in movies like Man Afraid and The Monolith Monsters, as well as guest turns on TV shows like Rawhide and Wagon Train. Donahue's career took off when he featured with Sandra Dee in the 1959 movie A Summer Place. The movie's popularity made him famous, and he became a heartthrob in the 1960s. After that he was in a number of successful movies such as Parish 1961, Susan Slade 1961 and Rome Adventure 1962. He became a well-known face on TV because to his parts in shows like Surfside 6 and Hawaiian Eye, which made him even more popular. Donahue had thousands of fan letters every week during this time, and Photoplay magazine called him the most popular male star. Even though Donahue was successful early on, he had a lot of personal problems. His career started to go downhill in the middle of the 1960s, in part because Hollywood's tastes were changing and he was having trouble with drugs. He played a psychopathic killer in the movie My Blood Runs Cold in 1965. This was a change from the romantic roles he usually played. He wanted to break out of his usual roles, but the movie didn't do well and his contract with Warner Brothers ended soon after. Later Donahue said that he was blackballed in Hollywood, which made it hard for him to obtain work. In his latter years Donahue kept acting. He was in theater shows like The Owl and the Pussycat from 1966 to 1967 and toured with the musical Bye Bye Birdie in 1998. He never became famous again, but he found calm and happiness outside of Hollywood's bright glare. He stayed involved in the entertainment business by going to fan conventions and film retrospectives. He loved the chance to talk to people who still liked and appreciated his work. Donahue was successful in his career, but his personal life was full with problems. He started drinking when he was 13, and as he got more famous he drank more. His problems with drugs and alcohol caused him to have a lot of failed marriages and difficult relationships. His contract with Warner Brothers expired in 1966 and he was then blacklisted in Hollywood. During this time he had trouble with money and even became homeless, spending time in Central Park in New York City. His career went downhill because he was typecast and had trouble finding good roles. Donahue joined Alcoholics Anonymous in 1982 following a number of personal and professional problems that made him want to get help for his addictions. He said that the program saved his life and helped him get back in touch with his kids, who he had been separated from. During this time he met opera singer Zhang Chao, and they became friends for life. Donahue went back to acting and starred in plays including Bye Bye Birdie and Love Letters. He said he was happy with his life and no longer wanted the celebrity he had in the past. He had found peace and happiness. Troy Donahue was married 4 times in his life. Each marriage showed a distinct moment in his life and the problems he was having, and full of the problems that come with celebrity, personal problems and changing emotions. His first wife was Suzanne Pleshette, a skilled and well-known actress recognized for her unique voice and later for her performances in movies and TV shows. In January 1964, the pair got married. At that time Donahue was at the height of his early success, having been a teen idol with hits like A Summer Place. But the marriage didn't last long. They got divorced after only 9 months. This short marriage showed how hard it was for Donahue to achieve stability in his personal life while being a Hollywood celebrity. The media kept a careful eye on their relationship even though it ended quietly. Suzanne Pleshette was also a rising figure at the time. Reports say that their marriage was strained because of the different demands of their jobs and personalities. Even though their marriage didn't last long, it was an important part of Donahue's life that shows how unstable relationships can be in the entertainment industry. Donahue was engaged to a woman called Lily Cardell before he married Pleshette. This engagement, however, did not lead to marriage because it ended in a lot of drama. Cardell sued Donahue for damages, saying that he had hit her during their relationship. This lawsuit brought to light a darker and more complicated side of Donahue's early personal life, suggesting that he had problems with anger or emotional instability. At the time, the litigation was in the news, and it hurt his public image. It was a sad time that showed how hard things were for Donahue off-screen, and how hard it is to be in a relationship with a star. Later in Donahue's career, not many people talked about this event, but it was an important one that showed some of the problems that were going on behind the scenes. Donahue married actress Valerie Allen for the second time on October 21, 1966. Valerie Allen also worked in the entertainment sector, and at first their marriage looked to offer a secure relationship between two Hollywood professionals. But the marriage fell apart swiftly, and Allen filed for divorce in 1968, saying that cruelty was the reason. This accusation points to a tumultuous and possibly abusive relationship, which shows how hard it was for Donahue to keep friends. The divorce was a difficult public event that showed how the actor was still dealing with his personal issues and the stress of his job. Their relationship showed how unstable things can go when personal problems are made worse by the stress and attention of public life. Troy Donahue's third marriage was to Alma Sharp, an executive secretary. This was different from his previous marriages to actresses. On November 15, 1969, they got married. At the time, Donahue's career was going through some ups and downs. Alma Sharp was not famous, which may have helped Donahue deal with the overwhelming attention he had gotten in his past relationships. Even so, their marriage only lasted around 3 years and ended in divorce in 1972. People generally think of this time in Donahue's life as one of his attempts to get back to normal and maybe get away from the Hollywood lifestyle that had caused his previous relationships to collapse. The breakdown of the marriage, on the other hand, showed that his problems went beyond fame and made it hard for him to keep long-term commitments. His last and fourth marriage was to Vicki Taylor. They were married from 1979 to 1981. Donahue was no longer the big star he had been in the past when this connection happened. However, he was still a well-known person. There isn't as much information regarding Vicki Taylor's past, but the marriage only lasted around 2 years before they got a divorce. People frequently see this marriage as Donahue's last chance to make a lasting connection before he got older. It happened during a time when he was still dealing with personal problems like addiction and work troubles, which probably made his relationships less stable. Troy Donahue was in a relationship with Jing Chao, a Chinese-American opera singer, in the last years of his life. This connection is interesting not simply because it happened later in his life, but also because it was a calmer and more private time for him. People in the opera world revered Jing Chao, and their relationship seemed to be more mature and deeper than his previous marriages, which were more public. Some people think that this relationship shows that Donahue wanted to be with someone and connect with them emotionally outside of the spotlight of celebrity. Troy Donahue also had a son named Sean in 1969 with a lady he had a brief relationship with. This son was born during a rough moment in Donahue's life, which was also the time of his third marriage. Sean's life adds another layer to Donahue's complicated personal story, since there isn't as much information about the actor's function as a father as there is about his love relationships. The fact that Sean's mother and Donahue had a short relationship shows that his personal life was often complicated and unstable. Fans were astonished when Hollywood hero Troy Donahue, who was once the epitome of golden boy charm on the big screen, talked about the tumultuous and emotionally draining aftermath of his short but intense marriage to fellow screen sensation Suzanne Pleshette. Behind their elegant wedding in 1964, which was seen as the perfect union of two rising talents, there was a maelstrom of unsaid agony, clashing goals, and emotional wounds that would haunt Donahue for years. Donahue later said in honest interviews that what seemed like a fairy tale affair fell apart almost as soon as it started. In January 1964, the pair ran away together, which shocked their friends and family. At the time, both were popular actors. Donahue was famous for movies like A Summer Place and Parish, while Pleshette was becoming a well-respected actress in her own right, with parts on Broadway and in movies like The Birds. But because their relationship was so fast-paced, starting on a movie set, they made the quick decision to get married without really knowing each other's underlying emotional needs or long-term ambitions. Later, Donahue said that their marriage was like two ships crashing into each other in a storm. From the start, the marriage was hard because of jealousy at work and different personalities. Donahue was starting to sink into substance misuse and melancholy as the strain to keep up his clean-cut image in the increasingly cynical world of Hollywood in the mid-1960s grew. Pleshette, who was strong-willed and down-to-earth, was said to be dissatisfied with Donahue's mood swings and lack of consistency in his work. People who knew the couple said that their ardent love quickly deteriorated into fights and agonizing silence. Their marriage lasted less than a year. By September 1964, the couple was no longer together. Donahue was left with a lot of personal remorse and emotional disappointment. He later called the event one of the worst things that ever happened to him. He said that the end of his marriage made him drink more, have more money problems, and get stuck in his job. He once said that losing Suzanne felt like losing a part of himself. "I wasn't simply sad, I was lost." Donahue also said that the divorce hurt his self-esteem and made it harder for him to make new friends. He said he felt haunted by not being able to be the kind of man Suzanne needed, a companion who was helpful and emotionally stable. Donahue said that her choice to leave him was a terrible wake-up call that made him face his inner issues, but he didn't hold any grudges against her. He stated, "She didn't just leave me, she left the man I pretended to be, and by doing that she showed me a mirror that I couldn't stand to look at." Even though it broke his heart, Donahue always talked highly of Pleshette in later years. He stated she was brilliant, bright, and knew exactly what she wanted out of life. "At the time I couldn't give her what she deserved." Pleshette went on to have a successful career and marry actor Tom Poston. Donahue, on the other hand, had a hard time for years before finally becoming clean and starting a quieter life away from the spotlight. The story of Troy Donahue and Suzanne Pleshette is still a sad reminder that being famous and beautiful doesn't mean you'll be happy. Their short, passionate, and ultimately sad marriage shows how fame can hurt people and how complicated Hollywood's glamorous image can be. For Donahue, telling the truth about the breakup was a way to apologize and heal at the same time, a method for him to come to terms with a part of his life that had been painful and secret for a long time. Troy Donahue, a matinee idol from the 1950s and 1960s whose good looks and brooding charisma won the hearts of people all over the world, had a heart attack on August 30, 2001. It was quite bad and unexpected. At the time, Donahue was living a rather tranquil life in Southern California, distant from the attention that had once been on him all the time. He had problems with addiction and his career going downhill in the past, but in his later years he found some serenity. He stayed in the entertainment industry in a small but steady way by making infrequent appearances and talking about his Hollywood heyday. The heart attack happened out of the blue, and they had to rush to St. John's Health Center in Santa Monica, California, which is known for treating a lot of famous people and is only a few miles from where Donahue used to walk the red carpets and pose for studio photos. When he got to the hospital, emergency medical staff worked quickly to stabilize him. He was then taken right away into surgery for an emergency angioplasty, a life-saving technique that opens clogged arteries and gets blood flowing to the heart again. In the days right after the treatment, it was thought to have gone well, giving both doctors and Donahue's family hope that he would get, but it hit them again in a horrible way. Donahue had a second heart attack not long after the angioplasty. This one was much worse. Even experienced doctors who had been cautiously hopeful after the first procedure were shocked by the recurrence. Doctors knew how serious the situation was and decided that he needed bypass surgery to live. Donahue had coronary artery bypass grafting on September 1. This is a complicated and invasive surgery that reroutes blood around clogged arteries to enhance blood flow to the heart muscle. During this medical nightmare, Donahue stayed unconscious and in serious condition while his family and friends kept watch nearby. Even if he wasn't as famous in recent years, he was nonetheless remembered as the ultimate heartthrob of a bygone Hollywood period. News of his hospitalization gradually spread across the entertainment world. People remembered the golden-haired actor who had formerly starred in romantic dramas like A Summer Place and Parish. He had been a symbol of youthful idealism and cinematic glamour during a time when American pop culture was more pure. Troy Donahue died on September 2, 2001, just one day after having bypass surgery. The medical team and the prayers of those who knew and loved him couldn't save him. He was 65 when he died. His heart ailment got worse and ended his life. Many people who grew up seeing him on TV and in movies saw him as a golden kid, stuck in time. His death signified the end of an era for many. Donahue was a symbol of traditional Hollywood in life and death, a reminder of both its greatness and its weakness.